In this lesson, we're going to cover the Spanish present tense. In previous lessons, we have covered examples for yo. For example, me llamo David. We have also covered examples for tú. ¿Cómo te llamas? In the first case, we're using llamo with an O ending. And for tú, we're using llamas. Both of these verbs come from the original form llamar. Another example is hablo español and hablas español. Both of these verbs come from the original form hablar. A more technical name for this original form is the infinitive form. The infinitive form is the original form of the verb. It doesn't indicate any tense or person. It is the form that you will see in dictionaries. And it is also the best form to learn and memorize new words. Now, depending on their ending in the infinitive form, Spanish verbs are classified into three different groups. The group number 1 are the verbs ending in AR. Group number 2 are the verbs ending in ER. And group number 3 has the IR ending. Conjugations. A conjugation is the modified form of a verb that indicates the person and tense of the action. These are the steps to conjugate a regular verb. First, you take the infinitive form. Yo vivir, for example. This is an incorrect expression since it means I to live. So you have to drop the ending and use the corresponding ending. For yo, the corresponding ending is o. Yo vivo. I live. In order to know what is the corresponding ending, we have this present tense chart, where you have the people that can be doing the action and the possible verb endings. For yo, it's very easy to conjugate. You just need to drop this ending and use o instead. We have these examples here. Hablar, meaning to speak. Aprender, to learn. And vivir, to live. All of them are in the infinitive form. So in order to conjugate the verb, for example, hablar, you need to drop the AR ending and use O instead. So how do you say I speak in Spanish? Hablo. Remember, the H is completely silent. How do you say I speak English in Spanish? Hablo inglés. Remember, at this point, you don't need to say yo, because hablo on its own already means I speak. Now let's continue with the next verb. Aprender. Can you drop the ending and use o instead to say I learn? Aprendo. So how do you say in Spanish, I learn Spanish? Aprendo español. The next verb is vivir. Remember, this V letter is pronounced as B. Vivir. How do you say I live? Vivo. How do you say I live in the United States? The United States is Estados Unidos. Vivo en Estados Unidos. Please listen to the following introduction.
Hola, me llamo David. Soy de Colombia, pero vivo en Estados Unidos.
As you know, soy de means I am from. Pero means but. And vivo en means I live in. So we have I am from Colombia, but I live in the United States. Listen to it one more time.
Soy de Colombia, pero vivo en Estados Unidos.
Let's continue. Just listen.
Tengo 25 años. Soy maestro de español. Hablo inglés, español y aprendo francés.
As you know, hablo means I speak. Aprendo means I learn. And although you will normally say in English, I am learning French, in Spanish it is enough to use the simple present form, I learn. I learn French. You don't need to say I am learning. Let's practice with an exercise. Here we have country names. Please repeat each name after you hear it. Francia. México. Canadá. España. China. Estados Unidos. Again, Estados Unidos. How do you say in Spanish, I am from France, but I live in Mexico? Soy de Francia, pero vivo en México. How do you say in Spanish, I am from Canada, but I live in Spain? Soy de Canadá, pero vivo en España. How do you say in Spanish, I am from China, but I live in the United States? Soy de China, pero vivo en Estados Unidos. Now let's practice with languages. Please repeat each word after you hear it. Francés. Alemán. Chino. Hindi. In this case, although the H is in Spanish completely silent, here we have an exception, and it is pronounced Hindi. Árabe. Japonés. How do you say in Spanish, I speak French and I am learning Spanish? Hablo francés y aprendo español. Remember, you do not need to say I am learning, the progressive form. In Spanish, the simple present form, I learn, is enough. How do you say in Spanish, I speak English and German, and I am learning Spanish? Hablo inglés y alemán y aprendo español. How do you say, I speak English and Hindi, and I'm learning Spanish and Japanese? Hablo inglés y hindi, y aprendo español y japonés. Writing exercise. Use the following expressions and write down your extended personal introduction. Pause the video and continue when you're ready. Now let's continue with the conjugations for the to case. AR verbs are going to get an AS ending. ER verbs are going to get ES. IR verbs are going to get ES. So let's begin with the verb hablar. How do you say you speak? We use the AS ending. Hablas. How do you ask in Spanish? Do you speak English? Although in English questions you usually have a do, in Spanish you don't need that. Basically, you just need to ask, you speak English? ¿Hablas inglés? Now let's continue with the next verb. How do you say you learn? We use the ES ending. Aprendes. How do you ask in Spanish? Where do you learn Spanish? Once again, you don't need to consider the do for this question, and just ask, ¿Dónde aprendes español? ¿Dónde aprendes español? Let's continue with the last verb. How do you say you live? Vives. How do you ask in Spanish? Where do you live? ¿Dónde vives? ¿Dónde vives? Let's practice with one exercise. Please ask this person the following questions in Spanish. Hi, what is your name? That's, Hola, ¿cómo te llamas? And she says,
Me llamo Lucía.
Ask in Spanish, where are you from? Please note that the question is where are you from and not where do you live. Where are you from is ¿De dónde eres? And she says,
Soy de México.
Do you speak English? ¿Hablas inglés?
Un poco.
Un poco means a little. Do you speak Spanish? ¿Hablas español?
Sí, hablo español.
Now please answer her questions.
Hola, ¿cómo te llamas?
You should say, Me llamo, and your name.
¿De dónde eres?
You should say, Soy de, and the name of your country.
¿Hablas inglés?
Answer with, Yes, I speak English. Sí, hablo inglés.
¿Hablas español?
Answer, a little. Un poco. In this video, we only covered the cases for yo and tú. In the next lessons, we will be covering the rest of the cases. This is the end of this lesson.